You may have actually been silenced yourself to some extent, by people in power, such as George Soros, such as the Rothschilds, such as the Bombards, all of these people in high positions of power.
Destiny, a kid who hijacked VJ acceptance speech was on Twitch today.
30 minutes back, but yeah. If he had the opportunity, would he meet him?
Of course, if I had the opportunity, I'm obviously not assuming that would be a truthful message.
Okay, is this his real voice or is he faking this?
Hopefully, Bill Clinton will reach out to me and we can meet. Sometime I will shake his hand and
Fake, okay.
I will, touch the top of his head.
Okay. That's all I had. 30 minutes.
Okay, there's a guy that I've got scheduled to come in and chat with. Do you know the guy who went on stage during some game award and said some weird shit?
Nope.
Okay, I don't know why, but I agreed to
I
talk
saw
to
like
this
a
guy.
video of it or something. What did he say?
Hey, Matan. Real quick, I want to thank everybody and say that I think I want to nominate this award to my Reformed Orthodox Rabbi, Bill Clinton. Thank you, everybody.
What? 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 Wait, what?
All right.
What? Is that a
I actually don't even know. I don't know how long this chat is going to be. I don't even know why we're talking, actually. I have literally no idea. Hello.
Who? Okay.
Matan.
Hello, how are we doing today?
We're doing okay. Wait, are you doing the accent? Are we really gonna do that one?
What do you mean?
I don't know if it's his real voice or not, actually. Okay, whatever, we'll do it.
I speak with you, Stephen Goranson. Very excited.
How are you? Well, what'd you reach out to chat about?
I just wanted to have a good, conversation. I've watched some of your previous streams, and I think I have a few things I would disagree with you on, and maybe just have a good talk with you.
Sure. Where are you from?
California.
Is that what's your first language?
English.
What's your second language? Wait, I feel like it's Hebrew. I'm shitting.
Shut up.
I'm okay.
Wait, is it? What is your second language?
I don't really speak Hebrew. I understand a little bit, but that's it. I don't really have any second languages. I'm Jewish, though.
Of course. Okay. Well, okay. So hit me up. What do you want to chat about?
Right. I saw a part of your debate the other day, and I was very interested in what you were saying about with Sneeko. You were saying that the governments. You were disagreeing that there's actually a group of people controlling all of the governments all over the world.
Yeah, or like if you believe that, I feel like you probably need some exceptional evidence to prove that. Yeah.
Right. I feel for the most part it can kind of be proven, and I feel like using common sense and logic, it should be very easy to prove.
Well, for an extraordinary conspiracy, I think we're probably going to need a little bit more than common sense and logic, but hit me up. Give me the most logic you've got.
Right, we can obviously look at, actual data and statistics, and I just want to say that obviously, I'm not saying this that all of the Jews are the ones running it. I think there's just a lot of people in general before anybody jumps to anti-Semitic conclusions. But I think for the most part, we can look at governments like China, we can look at the United States, we can look at RAG, we can look at all of these things, and we can see that there is a clear thing going on at certain times where they will all make certain laws and certain arrests that will match up with each other.
Well, isn't there also a chance that if people are making a lot of laws that match up with each other, maybe those laws are a good idea? For instance, a lot of countries around the world have laws against murder. Maybe it's just good to have a law against murdering people.
Right, but what I meant is that there were laws being changed at specific times that matched up with other laws in different countries. And that's just one of the things. There's many other things that I can prove it. I'm just saying that in general, there's a lot of weird things, different types of governments all having laws that don't align, with their own government.
Can you give me an example of one such law? Like, what's a law that you think is like really weird that multiple countries passed?
I think, a couple of years ago, United States passed a law. I think it was something to do with the economy in railroads. They passed a law, I think, that it made it illegal for any train to go over 300 miles an hour due to the climate change effects. China had actually disavowed that. Then very soonly after, they actually made a very similar law, and then they went back on their statement. And I think that was a lot of people started to get into it, because when you asked the actual president at the time, Xi Jinping, he couldn't really give a satisfying response, and he kind of just said that there's people who think that the law should be good, and that's why he made the decision.
Is this just like Bizarro Zerka?
I don't know. I don't see any. What is a recent law passed in the United States that limits the speed limit of trains? I don't think there was a.
I think this was about like 8-9 years ago. I think it was right at the end of Obama's term.
Yeah, I don't think this was like a new law that got passed or anything. I haven't heard this before.
Right, so obviously there's that, and then a lot of people will just say that, I don't want to use the common sense logic or anything like that, but can you necessarily prove to me that there's not?
Well, I can't prove a negative, right? If you're
But that's not.
If you want to be logical and rational, then we don't ask people to prove negatives. If you're making the claim, then the onus is on you to provide the evidence for such claim, right?
I think for the most part I would disagree with that. You're saying that we cannot prove a negative, but if we look at other things, I think it's pretty clear to prove a negative. If you say that yesterday I was killing somebody at 8 p.m., obviously that can be disproven. I can show you where I was at 8 p.m., but you can't show me clear evidence, that the governments are not all being controlled by a certain cabal.
Even if your hypothetical was true, you wouldn't be required to show that evidence unless I had evidence of you killing somebody, right? Like, I can't just go to somebody and say, like, oh, were you killing somebody yesterday? Give me an alibi. And if you're like, oh, shit, I can't. It's not like you're presumed guilty, right? I would have to provide some evidence that you were killing somebody. Otherwise, we would assume you were innocent, right? So the burden is still on me to provide proof for something. Just because you don't have to disprove something doesn't mean it can't be disproven. There's a lot of stuff that could be disproven, but I mean, like, you're the one making the claim here. And part of your claim is, I imagine, going to make it hard for me to disprove it because you're saying these people operate in secrecy and everything.
Of course.
Yeah.
How else could they?
Well, I mean, I don't know, but if people on the internet have figured it out, probably they're not doing too good a job of hiding it, no?
A lot of people say that if they're operating in secrecy, then why is a certain group, talking about it becoming a lot more mainstream? But I think that if we look at it logically, there's been other times in past governments where, very similar things were happening for a long period of time, and then certain people actually exposed it. And I think that if we look at it, again, from a logical standpoint, with all of the laws being changed at once.
Yeah, but we said all of the laws being changed at once. I don't think we've pointed to a single law that, I don't know what you're talking about with the train thing. I can't find anything about the train thing. I think we're going to need an example of some of these laws. It's good to, if we want to use like facts and logic and shit, we should start with like facts, like, well, what happened?
Right. So obviously, I mentioned the one with the train where the U.S. actually outlawed 300-mile-per-hour plus trains because they believe that due to the underground systems, it would kind of cause a huge problem with climate change. And I think that if we're looking at this again,
yeah, you're repeating this fact, but like I've never heard this before. I like, can you?
But that's not my problem.
Well, but it is your problem because you're giving me, like, if I were to point to like a specific piece of legislation that I didn't like, I could say, oh, the United States passed the Patriot Act after 9/11, or oh, I don't like that Obama did stuff with healthcare when he passed the Affordable Care Act, or I don't think Biden's Inflation Reduction Act. I don't like. I can name these specific acts. If I'm going to make a claim about a particular act, of course.
Oh, you want the name? I thought I can give you the name as well.
Yeah, what's the name of the law?
The Sharmoni Act.
Can you spell that for me?
S. H. A. R. M-O-N-I. Rambal, and an act.
How do you, Rambar?
No. S-H-A-R-M-O-N-I and an act.
I don't know what this is. This is in the United States. I don't know what you're.
Right. So that actually, I think it was passed in 2013. I'm just looking at some of my notes here, but if we can actually again. You said that you can't disprove a negative or prove a negative or whatever, but I would actually disagree because if we're looking at it from a certain standpoint, obviously sometimes there can be clear evidence showing you that obviously at that time, I wasn't there when the guy was murdered, so it couldn't be me. And obviously you are, found innocent until proven guilty. But I think for the most part, you can't disprove a negative. You can just kind of deny it, and if you're with enough confidence in doing so and believable enough, you can do it. And I think that you're not so confident to do it, which is why you haven't been able to make a clear statement that has kind of disproved it in general.
Can you give me an example of a piece of evidence I could provide to you that would disprove this?
Right. So obviously, I think depending on how confident you were, it would just kind of give everybody, more satisfaction with it. I think that a lot of the time you don't seem exactly confident into your answer, and I think that behind your act, you actually do believe a little bit in what I'm saying, and I think that maybe, I could be wrong on this. I don't want to start any conspiracies. You may have actually been silenced yourself to some extent, by people in power, such as George Soros, such as the Rothschilds, such as the Bombards, all of these people in high positions of power.
Maybe,
Right. So obviously we can look at that, and I think that's kind of why you don't have a sense of confidence when you deny these claims, which can obviously disproving or proving a negative, however you want to term it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a good point.
That is a good point, yeah. What am I can't really say much about that, yeah.
Right.
Right.
So you agree with me that, you are essentially right now doing a call for help.
If I was, I wouldn't be able to say that, right?
But are you agreeing that you are hinting at it?
Well, I can't tell you publicly if I am, right? Like, Soros could be watching right now,
Right. Obviously, Soros could be watching, but I think he has more important things to deal with, such as, controlling all of the banks. A lot of people have actually said it's the Rothschilds controlling the banks. But I think that, more commonly, it's actually the Bombards controlling the banks. We can look, they have a history of controlling Roman banks, controlling Grangal banks, controlling, Italian banks, controlling all of the European banks, now the United States banks, since, 1200 BC.
For sure, dude. Yeah. True.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a little bit confused. Are you agreeing with what I'm saying?
Well, I'm not really at liberty to say if I am or am not, so.
I'm not saying that you are, under anything right now. I'm just saying, are you agreeing with me that, a lot of these banks are currently being controlled by organizations that, kind of control all of the money in the world, such as the Bombards, the Rothschilds, George Soros, and all of those type of people?
They might be. I don't know, man. I'm not really at liberty to discuss that,
You have previously denounced it, said that you don't believe in it, but you seem a little bit less confident when I'm bringing up the names, the actual legislatures passed in all types of countries all over the world.
Mm-hmm. That's true, yeah. True. Okay. Do you have anything else for us?
I think for the most part,
Uh-huh.
that could be it. I thought maybe it would go a little bit deeper, but I guess if you just want to agree with me, obviously that's fine. I think I've seen some of your other takes. You have a lot of interesting ones, but I think obviously, I think with specific topic, we are kind of done. Obviously, if you agree with me on it.
Yeah. Well, man, it was a fascinating conversation. I'm glad we got to figure this common sense position out, and yeah, thanks a lot for everything. Really.
Have a good one, have a good birthday, and I'd love to talk with you in the future, depending on the circumstance.
Okay, gotcha. Well, hopefully in the future I'll be at freedom, have more liberty to discuss things more openly, but we'll see what happens, okay?
Right. Have a good one, Stephen Goranson.
Yeah. Well, that was a good waste of time. I don't know what I was expecting.